Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for tuning in. This episode, unfortunately, is kind of the highest of highs and the lowest of lows as we sit here on this Monday. What are we? February 12th of 2024. As we know, last night, my Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and that was super great. Again, highs to highs. Lowest of lows is what we're going to start talking about today, and that is the very tragic and untimely death of Kelvin Kiptum. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, if you go back into the fall, right after the Chicago Marathon, we talked about Kelvin. He ran the Chicago Marathon, set a new marathon record at 2 hours and 35 seconds. For a full marathon, that was not like a time trial. It wasn't what Kipchoge did a few years ago, where he set it up to break the 2 hour mark, where it wasn't an official race. It was an event that was set up to beat that mark. And it was amazing. And beating 2 hours in a full marathon is just amazing. Well, then Kiptum at 24 years old, well, he was 23 at the time, he goes to Chicago and he wins the Chicago Marathon, an actual marathon, actual race conditions, not perfect conditions, just whatever you got on that day at 2 hours and 35 seconds. Oddly enough, it was just ratified last week. So it was made official. He officially has the marathon record of 2 hours and 35 seconds. That's amazing. It's amazing. He was killed yesterday in a car accident in his native land of Kenya. And he was also in a car with two other people. His running coach did not survive. And the third participant, or third person in the car, at least, is alive at last I saw. But of course, in very critical condition. It was a single car accident. Kipton was driving. Reports that he just lost control. And sounds like he was killed instantly. The coach died moments after. And this third person, like I said, their status is to be determined. So it is a very, very sad day for the marathon and running community. Again, Kiptum at the time of his death was 24 years old. Like, he hadn't even gotten to his prime yet. He really only had, I think they said, 3 full marathons under his belt. Here's a little piece that they wrote up about him just to give some of his history. And again, at 24 years old, there's not a lot of history to be had. So what it says is, after winning in Valencia in December of 2022 and topping the 2023 London Marathon, Kiptum produced his record-breaking run in only his 3rd marathon. Athletics Kenya named him their provisional team of 10 men for the Paris Olympics, in a list that also included Kipchoge. So yes, he was going to run the Olympics in 2024 in Paris. No question. The Olympic marathon was supposed to be his first race in which the 2 fastest marathoners in history would have lined up together, he and Kipchoge. It would be exciting to meet Kipchoge, who has inspired many. I am ready to race against him, said Kiptum to Olympics.com just before his record run. I am dreaming of the Paris Olympics. If I get a chance to be selected by the selectors, I'll be thankful, and I'll go there to try and win a medal. Kiptum became the first man to record 3 sub 2 hour and 2 minute times in 12 months. He says, it was my dream one day to have the world marathon record. I had planned for it in Chicago next year or even 2025. Fortunately, it just came in Chicago and it's a dream come true, he said. Kiptum is the second high-profile Kenyan marathoner to die in his prime in his career. Samuel Wanjiru, who raced to the Olympic marathon record in Beijing in 2008 games, died after falling from a balcony in his home. Yikes. He was the first Kenyan to win an Olympic marathon. At only 23, he had already won 4 major marathons. The Olympic race, Chicago in 2009 and 2010, and then London in 2009. So that is just a little piece of, I guess, the history and what's going on in the world of marathoning. Again, tragic loss. That marathon at the Paris Games would have been freaking amazing. Like, honestly, to watch those two, Kiptum and Kipchoge, go against each other would have been a sight. It would have been a spectacle. As it is now, I think all we can do is probably dedicate that marathon, the 2024 Olympic marathon, to him. I think that's kind of the right thing to do. And may the best man and then woman in their division win. It'll be a good show, but it won't be the best that we could have seen because of this very, very tragic circumstance. So, to the friends, family, and everyone left behind from Kelvin Kiptum, our best wishes and condolences and prayers, if you offer them, to all of them. What is truly a very tragic event. So, there is no easy segueing out of something like this. So, I'm just going to call it what it is and say, we're going to try and segue out of this. Okay. This past weekend was a 2-race weekend for the podcast. We ran the Sweetheart Run on Saturday. And that was just a 5K. Now, hopefully, you got to see the adorable pictures that came from that race. Again, I was not there in my Back of the Pack podcast gear as usual. No, I was the cohort. I was the sidekick. I was the partnering piece of the puzzle that is the KC cosplay runner. Our guy asked me months and months ago to do kind of a tandem outfit for that particular race. So if you go to our Instagram page and then, of course, on the Facebook page, you will see what we came up with. And it was the KC cosplay runner as an Oompa Loompa. And I did my best attempt to be Willy Wonka. I actually really kind of liked the little outfit I got. The neck with the tie wasn't very comfortable, but the sleeves on the running or on the jacket were quite nice. And it was a chilly morning, so that actually worked out really well for me to have just a little bit of a jacket on. We ran the 5K together. He was signed up for the 10K. I was signed up for the 5K. But we ran that, got some cool pictures. There were people who just asked for our picture randomly at the start line before the race began. So that was fun. Anytime you can take a picture with some people or with kids or whatever, that was super fun. So we had a good time with that. The race itself was a 5K. So as we've talked about, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were in the same boat, and I've mentioned it before, but right at Christmas Day, I got really sick. Just one of those real nasty viruses that don't go away. So I had like a 3-week span of bad training, being sick. Then Kansas City went into the deep freeze, and we had that huge cold front come through. Also killed the training. So training is way behind on everything. It has not been great. It's getting better. But the Sweetheart Run on Saturday, I was very thankful that Andrew and I, like I plowed through that whole 5K, no walk breaks, no taking it easy, pretty good pace, very consistent for where I want to be. And my time wasn't great because I made sure to pace myself correctly. I'm actually kind of working on my marathon pace running right now because we're 3 weeks away from Little Rock, y'all. And if that doesn't just put a little bit of fear into your heart, if you're going to Little Rock, it should, because we're 3 weeks away from Little Rock, y'all. Yikes. So I was really working on marathon pace for that 5K. Ran the whole thing, no issues. Finished the race without my Oompa Loompa, who went and did his 10K. Good on him. I kind of wish I had done the 10K, but then it would have been back-to-back days of 10Ks, which would have been great, better for training. But I knew that the next race, the couple shuffle done by Bodies Race Company in Independence, that was the one I really wanted to do well on. And so what I did with that was try not to hiccup. That's the first thing I tried to do with that. See, I'm sucking in all this oxygen. Yikes. But no, went out to Independence. This is a course I've done many times. Any runners in the Kansas City area have done Waterfall Park. We've all done it several times. Nothing new and different. The only thing we did this time was run it kind of backwards from what I deemed as the usual route. So we did it backwards. When you go down the hill to start, we took the right turn instead of the left turn. You go all the way out to the right, turn around, come all the way back past the starting road, all the way to the left, turn around, come back, go up the hill, and you're good. So ran that course, and that's where I really wanted to work on marathon pace, and I nailed it. Not gonna lie. I was consistently 11:10 per mile the entire 10K. No walks, no breaks, no anything. It was consistent pace, all 6.2 miles, and I was actually really thrilled with that. So that worked out well for me. And it was not a bad morning. Not a bad morning. It was actually a really good weekend running wise for me, as the 5K went the way I wanted it to. The costumes were a big hit, and then the 10K went the way I wanted to because the pacing was correct on what is actually a hilly course. It always gets me from time to time just how hilly that course is. I don't ever remember it being that hilly, but there's definitely some hills to it. So it was good for Little Rock, which I know has a lot of the little rolling hill action. We're going to have that coming up, but this was a good precursor. So next weekend, we actually have a weekend off. No races. If you can believe that, there's nothing local to town. Closest race I saw was in Wichita. I'm not driving 3 hours for a 5K or 10K. I'm just not going to do that. So next weekend is going to be kind of a longer run. I'm going to hope to get maybe 9 miles, maybe even 10, because we are now 2 weeks away from Las Vegas. Okay, so about Las Vegas, like I said, we've got that coming up in 2 weeks. Not sure how we're going to work this because I returned from Las Vegas on a Monday. Normally that's when we like to get episodes out. I could try and take my stuff with me and do a lot of editing and get everything uploaded on my last day in Vegas. Uh, I don't know how much fun that sounds like. So in 2 weeks, we might have to have a Tuesday release. I'm warning you now. Look, I want to be consistent because I want this to, be a consistent thing, and that consistency builds following and keeps people happy, and I want to keep you all happy. But we might have to do a Tuesday release after the Las Vegas trip, and then that same week, at the end of it, we're going to Little Rock. So there's a lot going on right now. A lot of races coming up as we've got a week off. Vegas, Little Rock. And then after that, don't forget, we've got the Westport St. Patrick's Day 4 miler, followed by the Back of the Pack podcast 2 year anniversary party at Kelly's Inn in Westport. So if you are local to Kansas City, I hope you will join us because we will all be there around 11 a.m. Yes, I'm making bunny ears into the camera. But we're going to be there at 11 a.m. or whenever you're done with the 4 mile race to celebrate the Back of the Pack podcast 2 year anniversary. We had a lot of fun at 1 year last year where everyone kept saying birthday. We kept calling it birthday. And so Kelly's Inn was kind enough to come over. They brought us a shot of Jameson, woohoo, for a birthday, but it wasn't really a person's birthday. It was a podcast. So I don't know how you do a shot as a podcast. So I just did a shot because that's kind of what I do. But that worked out well. So yeah, don't forget to join us for the 2 year anniversary on March 9th. And then on March 10th is the beard run. I told you we'd be talking about it again. Again, the beard run, March 10th in Shawnee Mission Park. Do not miss. Do not. If you are close by, heck, even if you're not close by, why don't you go ahead and get registered for the beard run and come support local running legend Scott Green. And that'll be huge. That is his career race number 300. And it is his race. And I can't wait to be there. Everyone's going to be there. We're going to be knocking out the 10K. A lot of people, there's 5, there's 10, party afterwards. So come and bring a change of clothes or bring a jacket to throw on if it's cold, but don't just plan on running and leaving. That is not what we're doing. Okay. You're going to make sure that you stay and that we all have a great time after that race and celebrate Scott. So that's where we are kind of on future scheduling. Lastly, well, not lastly, second to lastly, again, highest of highs. Here in Kansas City, we are thrilled. Our Chiefs won the Super Bowl yesterday. A hell of a game. Hell of a game against the 49ers. Respect, mad respect to the San Francisco 49ers. You guys played an amazing game. The Chiefs were they were just that much better. And again, any given Sunday, that game could have gone either way. But it's, joy all throughout the land of Kansas City. I understand people are tired of us. Now, this kind of cements the whole dynasty talk. Yes, they're a dynasty. No, we're not the New England Patriots, but I understand that there is still a ton of hate on the Chiefs for being so successful. Travis Kelce can be a little bit much sometimes. You can't argue the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid is a class act through and through. And then, yes, Taylor Swift, although to her credit, she is certainly not trying to take any spotlight. They just kind of keep shining it upon her because she is the biggest star walking the face of the earth right now. So what can you do, really? But hey, huge congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs, my team. Trust me, my Super Bowl merchandise has already been ordered. It is on its way. So I will have my hat, my yearly Patrick Mahomes jersey with the Super Bowl patch on it. And then I got the hoodie to celebrate the winning of the Super Bowl. So go team, go. It was super fun. Great game. Mad props to San Francisco. I'll need to go back to last week's episode with Cody and see what his prediction was on the final score because I think he was close. He was closer than I was, but I think he was really close to predicting that final score. So I'll go back and listen, or if anyone wants to listen and tell me, great. But I know our boy Cody was real close on the prediction of that game. Either which way, though, the Chiefs get the win. Go team, go. That's all I'll say on that. Next up for us, And this is how you know I'm Kansas City through and through. Next up is baseball season. Go Royals. Yes. Yes. I love my Royals. Honestly, as much as I love the Chiefs and I love football, baseball has always been my number one passion. I can't wait for Royals baseball. And that's hard to say sometimes. That is really hard to say sometimes because the Royals can be historically bad. But there is nothing like the 2-year period in 2014 and 2015 when the Royals were really good and they won the World Series in 2015. This town was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The electricity in this town was, it warms my heart even thinking about it. We all love the Chiefs, and we were all super excited 4 years ago when they won the first Super Bowl of this dynasty. But nothing will ever beat the Royals winning that World Series. In the parade at Union Station, if you're in Kansas City again, you know what I'm talking about. It was insane. And they thought maybe 1 million people were down there at Union Station, the sea of blue. Oh, sorry, I'm getting all excited now. I'm going to give myself goosebumps, but I love baseball. I hope you love baseball too, and I can't wait. So, pitchers and catchers report here in like a week or two, and then it's going to be baseball season. And of course, baseball season means we're getting closer to summer. And so we've got spring running season coming in. We've got summer running season. We're just flying right along. We're just flying right along. So lastly, and again, this is like an episode with no rhyme or reason. And I don't know. You guys might decide this episode sucks and whatever. But I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to tell you why it pissed me off. So you have seen, I know some people have seen on Facebook, I have put out into the world some paid advertising for the podcast on Facebook so that it will take people with some of the likes, like if they like running or fitness or whatever, it might suggest to them the Back of the Pack podcast. And I know several people who have already liked the show have liked that post. So that post has come up on your Facebook feed at some point in time. I put that out there to try and get more likes on the page, to get more interaction. Again, I want interaction on our Facebook page. If you just want to post something, please do. Know that if it's within the realm of good taste, it will get accepted and you can start a discussion, or you could post your run, or you could post a selfie or Metal Monday or whatever. Like, I want us to use this Back of the Pack podcast Facebook page as a way for everyone to connect, as a place for everyone to be encouraging and loving and just celebrate the running world that we love so much. So there's this paid ad that I put out there. It's about the second or third time I've had this ad running. I just spent a few dollars on it. No big deal. Last week, someone made a comment on it. Normally that doesn't happen. People will either like the post or they'll go and like the page. But no one ever really comments on this ad. Well, someone did. And I have since removed it, and I'll tell you why here in a second. What they put on there, in effect, was, of course, a negative remark. And here's the thing. What they said was, Back of the Pack are the people who can pick up the cones. All right. Yeah. It was a comment about picking up the cones. Okay. And here's the thing. And this is not me just trying to talk tough. Y'all, if you know me, you know I'm about the realest guy in the room. I'm not going to blow smoke. I'm not going to BS. I call it like I see it and I tell it like it is. If you don't like me, if you don't like Kyle Walker, if you think I am too ugly to be on a visual podcast, you're not wrong. If you think I have a face for radio, you're not wrong. If you think my voice sounds funny, you're probably not wrong. If you think that I'm a slow runner or an idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about, or a guy who can't format the show, if you got a problem with me personally, cool, man. Like, I really don't care. For the people who don't know me, or for the people who are just kind of out in this world who think that I'm a complete chump stain, you can tell me, because you can't hurt my feelings if I don't value your opinion. That's kind of how I've felt about most of my life. So look, if people don't like me, I don't care. That's fine. If people listen to this podcast and maybe it doesn't speak to them, maybe it's not for them. Again, maybe they don't like my voice. Maybe they don't like the format. Maybe they don't like the topics that we cover. Maybe they don't like my background, or that I live in Kansas City, or whatever, or that I have tattoos on my arm. If you don't like the podcast, that's cool. Like, bummer. I put this out hopefully for everyone to enjoy. And if I've in some way offended you, please let me know and I will correct that immediately, if not sooner. If you don't like the podcast, don't subscribe to it. Don't listen to it. I want views, and I want listens, and I want downloads, and I want subscriptions, and I want likes, and I want comments, and I want shares, and I want all that stuff. But if this isn't for you, baby, it isn't for you. respect. Please go find something that does, or that is. Find something that speaks to you. Find something that will motivate you to be better, a better runner, or a better fitness person, or a better athlete, or better whatever you want to call it. But if this show's not for you, cool, man. Like, no problem. We're square. This isn't everybody's cup of tea, and I get that. The one thing that I will not stand for, and I will not tolerate, is for someone to make a comment about, like, pick up the cones, or about the people who are in the back of the pack. What I see when you do that, when you comment on a post meant to bring people together, you are trying, like an asshole, to send people away. Because if this post reaches someone who is an admitted back of the pack runner, who is maybe a little wishy-washy or him-hawing about going to a race, like, hey, I feel like I'm not in the greatest of shape. My conditioning isn't great. I'd probably have to walk a lot of that 5K if I have to go to the 5K. I'm nervous about going. I don't want people to judge me. I don't know anyone who's going to be there, whatever the situation is. If you are on the fence on if you should go to a 5K or not, and then you see some clown, a troll on Facebook, who is going to say disparaging things about you, or about, just people in our state as back of the Packers, that will more than likely lead someone not to go. A comment like that, a negative comment in the direction of the slower runner, will maybe prevent them from going to the race. It might prevent them from doing something they want to do, or accomplishing something they want to accomplish. And that is what I will not stand for. I simply won't. So I removed that comment. All right. And look, that's not censoring. That is, I'm doing what I feel is better for the people who may not be able to handle that kind of a rejection, or handle that kind of a comment, or just that kind of a vibe, that kind of a feel. We don't do trolling here. Okay. Understand. Look, podcasters have a big decision to make, and I've had to make this decision before. Again, this is my third podcast. Firstly, years and years ago, I had a religious-based podcast for men going through divorce. Okay. And I got negative comments about that a lot. Secondly, I had just kind of an overall good mental health podcast. Okay. So yeah, I got some hate on that as well. But we talked a lot about relationship stuff. We talked about good mental health. We talked about anything really, that, anything and everything that came out during those years of doing it. And then I have this podcast, which is my passion podcast right now. Well, not right now, will always be, because of how much I love the running world. So trust me, I've gotten my fair share of negative feedback. And as a podcaster, you can do one of several things. You can choose to address every bit of hate that you get, but then that's all you do. Because if you just choose to accept every little bit of hate that comes your way, and you address it, or you fire back at them, or you get in some kind of Twitter war or a posting war, then you're not doing anything else. And I really don't know how helpful that is to you, or your brand, or your mental health as the person who's putting yourself out there for others to see, be heard, and be judged. Or you can just try and ignore everything. And if you ignore everything, trust me, I mean, you see it. You see the stuff that comes in. You see what people are saying, but you don't fire back. That's kind of been the tack that I have taken 98% of the time. But as we can see, sometimes somebody will say something, and I feel the need to respond to it. And I'm responding to it simply my opinion. And I guess because I'm the only one here, it is the opinion of the Back of the Pack podcast. But if you want to sit there and bash on slow runners, if you want to sit there and bash on the people who may or may not decide to go to that race, then I have no use for you in my life. I want you gone. If you think you're an elite level runner, cool, go be elite and go worry about your elite friends. But here's the thing about this podcast. We have listeners of this podcast from elite to super fast to really fast to kind of fast to middle to back to walk to people who may not even have ever done a race, but they may be considering it because of something we've said here. We have everyone on the spectrum here, and I think it's amazing. But I will not let anyone post anything that is going to somehow relegate the people back here to not mattering, to being the people, well, you guys are so slow, you might as well pick up cones. Screw you, buddy. Look, there are volunteers who are happy to do that, and thank you to everyone who volunteers at races and picks up cones. But I don't care if you are the last place finisher of a race. You are a badass for being out there and you are doing something amazing. And I don't really care what anyone says. So do not let some jerkhole's negative comment in any way, shape, or form prevent you from doing what you want to do. And if you want to do that 5K, then you do that 5K. If you want to attempt that 10K, then you do that 10K. Half, full, wherever it might be, whatever you feel you want to do, what you want to tackle, that challenge that you want to take head on in your life, then that's what you need to do. And don't let anyone talk you out of it, because to the extent of the ability that I have, I will not let you. I will not let them. I will not let them talk you out of doing something that makes you amazing. Again, you want to be that 1% who finish a marathon, then I want you to be that 1%. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you, hey, there's a big group of people going to Little Rock. Little Rock has a 2-hour head start for people who think it's going to take more than 6 hours to do a marathon. Little Rock has caught hell for that. And I don't care. I'm here for it. I think Little Rock, you are amazing, amazing for trying to cater to the people who may never otherwise get a full marathon unless they have a 2-hour head start. Unless it's going to take, if it's going to take them 7.5 to 8 hours, they can do it. And they can now call themselves full marathon finishers. And so when I post about Little Rock and when we do an episode about Little Rock, trust me, if there's any negative feedback about the extra 2 hours or about the people who need to walk a marathon as opposed to who can run it in an elite level, we're not going to be here for it. Like, take that nonsense somewhere else. Take it to Elitist of the Pack podcast, whatever. I don't care. Don't bring that weak ass stuff here, because we're not going to have any of it. None. I have met people, and I've said this before. I'll say it again, and I will say it every time someone rattles my cage or pisses me off. I know people who have more heart and more desire to be great than some people, not all, than some people who are just naturally gifted, who have the God-given ability to run really far, really fast for a really long time. Again, good on you people. Love you people. But when it comes easy, you don't have to have the passion and the drive that it takes. But there are some who do. Don't get me wrong. Don't mishear me here. I'm not saying all. Again, I'm going to use him as an example. I do a lot. Fast Eddie. All right. Fast Eddie wins a lot of the races around here. Nicest guy. He's a nice guy. I'm sure he works hard, and I'm sure a lot of it comes very natural to him. But he's also the guy that's going to be there cheering the last people to cross the finish line. Okay. So there are those people. You've got the elites who give a shit. And trust me, you elite runners, you need us back at the Packers. We make you look better. Trust me. But we're not gonna have any of this issue of people posting on the website who are going to try and come down on the slower runners on the back of the Packers, because that's not what we do here. What we do is we build up and we encourage, and we want everyone at the race. We want everyone to cross the start line, and we want everyone to cross the finish line, and we cheer every person in between from first to last. We are here for it. If you got the guts, if you got the brass monkeys to show up to a race from 5K to full marathon, and you got the cojones to cross the start line and work your way to the finish, we are here to celebrate you. And I will not tolerate anyone who tries to come down on the people who are doing great things. And any distance you do, any distance you accomplish, you are doing great things. And don't let anyone tell you differently. Doesn't matter your pace, doesn't matter your time. You finished, you are awesome. And always, always, always respect that and remember that. Okay. So that's going to do it. That's going to be me getting off the soapbox. Again, when something stupid comes along, I'm going to address it. A lot of this is repetitive from the last guy that pissed me off, and I get it. But that's where we're going to leave it right now. So again, maybe an overly emotional episode due to recent events with Kelvin Kiptum. Again, to him and his family, our thoughts, prayers, condolences, love, good juju, whatever you want to put out in the world, put it out to those folks who are going through a really hard time, because 24 years old, that's rough. That's real rough. And now we can think about what could have been, and hopefully they will do a lot to honor him over this 2024 probably Abbott Marathon season. Again, from Boston to Chicago to New York to Berlin to London to Tokyo. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of celebration in his honor, and rightfully so. So next week we will be back with a topic: no races, nowhere to see you. I'm gonna have to get out for a decent run myself, which, self-motivation. How about that? No races, no no medals to be chasing, if you can believe that. And then we're going to be off to Vegas. And again, our schedule might get a little confuzzled. We'll see. I'll do what I can. And then it's Little Rock. So, and after Little Rock, I feel like running season, spring running season is more than here. We're going to be in the throes of it, shall we say. So everyone have a great week of training. Please be safe. Hug and squeeze your loved ones. And we will see you next week on another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast.